before I did this, I'm 46 years old. So as far as, the Amazon world, I'm like ancient. I owned some commercial real estate, and really I owned a family business, taxi cabs. I owned like 50 taxi cabs. I really consider myself, I was a business owner, but really not an entrepreneur. And obviously, taxi cabs, not exactly the greatest business to be in anymore. Made a lot of money for me for a long time, but it quickly came to an end. And the thought of working for somebody else was not an option. But I was coming from I don't have a college degree, and I was coming from an industry that doesn't exist anymore.
E-commerce is the greatest business opportunity of our generation. What is up, people? Welcome back to another episode of the Ecom Unlimited Podcast. It's your boy Kaj, here with my co-host Josh.
What's going on, everybody?
Now, I wanted to quickly shout out the sponsor of today's episode. That is SellerSnap. They are our repricer of choice that is based on AI and game theory, and they are hands down the most powerful repricer on the market. They avoid price tanking, help you stay in the buy box longer, as well as increase your profits. Pricing on Amazon is one of the most important levers you can pull that directly impacts your bottom line. So if you do not have a good repricer, it is actually losing you money. Now, if you want to try out SellerSnap, you can get a free 15-day trial as well as 10% off your first 3 months using the code Robinson at checkout or by clicking the link in the description. SellerSnap also recently came out with some new features called Data Hub that gives you competitor analysis as well as profitability analytics, and they also have some new introductory pricing offers. So guys, I highly, highly recommend that you try out SellerSnap if you're not already using them, and also book a free onboarding call with their team to learn how to best use the tool. With that, let's get back to the episode. And today we have on our friend John. John and I met on Twitter. We were actually, all three of us were at Sellers United recently, but we didn't get to connect in person. It was just a busy time. But John, thanks for making time to come on to the podcast, and welcome.
Thank you. It's great to be here. My first time being on another podcast.
Yes, I recently discovered that
Wow.
you have your own podcast too, right?
Yeah, me and a couple other guys from who I met online too, and we started a podcast only back like in April or something, and kind of thought we'd give it a try.
I love that.
Well, yeah, can you give a quick introduction for listeners who may not be familiar with your story? Obviously, you're a little bit newer in the space, which would be fun to talk about as well, but just how you found out about selling online and e-commerce in your journey to date.
Yeah, I wouldn't really, right now is when I call myself an entrepreneur. Before I did this, I'm 46 years old. So as far as, the Amazon world, I'm like ancient, it feels like sometimes. But I owned some commercial real estate, and really I owned all a family business, taxi cabs. I owned like 50 taxi cabs.
Oh, wow.
So I really consider myself, I was a business owner, but really not an entrepreneur. And obviously, taxi cabs, not exactly the greatest business to be in anymore. Made a lot of money for me for a long time, but it quickly came to an end. And the thought of working for somebody else was not an option. But I was coming from I don't have a college degree, and I was coming from an industry that doesn't exist anymore. So, and I sure didn't have enough money to not work. So it came to a little moment of me going, uh-oh, I need to find something to do. And I ended up talking with a young man who I coached high school football for 15 years. And he was somebody that I coached. And he's like in his mid-20s now. And he doesn't anymore. He's moved on to other things, an entrepreneurial type guy. But he sold on Amazon. And I was like, that's interesting. And he did some wholesale, more distributor type stuff. And last December, I just kind of got on YouTube University, started poking around, watching it. And that's when I found Miles. And last January, I just said, let's just jump into this. and I jumped in both feet, no job, no nothing. And I kind of gave myself a full year and said, let's do this for a year. Let's see how it goes. And I started with OA I really knew wholesale was where I wanted to be,
Okay.
but I quickly learned like, hey, OA, you need to kind of, walk before you run. So I did the OA for 3-4 months and then started the transition into wholesale pretty quickly.
Okay.
And
And
that's
that's
where we're
all
at
new
now.
as of 2025, right?
Oh, everything. The amount that I've learned from mid-January to now is just, it is wild. I've never been a social media person, and my business was not a lot of computer stuff. So in general, I was
Mm.
very computer illiterate. Even like the simple stuff of like creating PDFs and like that was stuff I had to like overcome. I just didn't use much of it. I had a big enough business where I had an accountant,
Wow.
I had a QuickBooks guy, I had an IT guy, and I didn't need to do a lot of that stuff. So Google Sheets, spreadsheets, all that stuff was just a crash course in everything.
That's a massive crash course. I mean, just to go from almost no kind of computer kind of not experience at all, but like the intricacies of, attaching,
Yeah.
SellerAmp to Google Sheets and making sure everything's exporting correctly and checking the numbers to make sure that they're making sense. Yeah, that I can't imagine what that was like. That is a
Looking up a
massive,
thermal printer was
yeah.
one of the worst experiences I've ever had, still to this day.
I don't think anyone ever has a good experience with it.
No, I don't know why. It
It
I
seems
took an
think every
entire
time we
day.
turn on our thermal printer, it's one of the worst
we just
experiences
hope
we
it
have.
works.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
so
right.
talk to us about that OA experience, right? So you said you did OA for about 3 to 4 months. How high did you scale your monthly revenue just doing OA? What were some of the challenges you had to overcome?
Yeah, OA, it took, I would say about 30 days of extreme hand holding from Miles, really. I wouldn't have made it. I wouldn't have made it past 3 weeks if it wasn't, if I didn't have the help of those guys.
Yeah, for sure.
I started getting the hang of it, a little bit of scaling. I constantly felt like I was on a hamster wheel, just, constantly sourcing. I got decent at it and I scaled to about 20 to 25K with it. I did hire about 3 months in. I did hire a very part-time, 20 hours a week, a little bit in the morning, a little bit at night, VA who helped me with some admin work. And then he started doing some sourcing for me. Um, Super nice kid, but wasn't who I wanted for the future, to really go forward. But those first 3 months, I realized I was like, okay, you can make money at this. I was doing the typical, the Cloves, the Kohl's, but coupon stacking, canceled orders, gift cards, all of it was just, I got okay at it, but I did not like it. I was like, I don't want to go to 50K, 100K with this. This is not fun for me. But I knew that it was just part of the process. I was like, I need to do this. I need to be tunnel vision for 3 months, do nothing but source and just do that. Don't look forward to anything else. And then once I did that, that's when I started to kind of open up and see like, okay, I got this. I don't need to go any higher with this.
Right.
And that's
for
what
sure.
I made the switch.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, makes sense. I mean, Josh, what was the biggest month we ever did just OA?
I mean, I feel like we had like 100K December,
Probably.
but
Yeah.
I mean, that's about as far as we got. We never really got any higher than that. And obviously,
Which
on
is,
average,
yeah,
it was mostly probably 50K to
50 to 60
40K
probably.
average. Or yeah,
Yeah.
50 to 60, somewhere around there.
But yeah, when
And
you were talking about the gift cards and all that stuff, that man, the amount of memories that just flooded through my head. We had this whole gift card tracker spreadsheet, the
oh
lead
my gosh.
purchasing spreadsheet. Our
Yeah.
ROA operation, it was dialed. I can't lie.
It was dialed, and then it's like, oh, I got the gift card, but wait, doesn't have the amount of money that I paid for it on it. Now I got to
Right.
go talk to him and try to get that back, and then they're trying to figure out why there wasn't the correct amount on it, and then it's just like, oh my gosh, like
So
I
many
The
can't.
leakage.
So many ways that
Oh,
things
the
can go wrong.
leakage is real. Oh my gosh, it's almost like a water balloon, and someone had just poked 1,000 holes, and you're just trying to just like cover everything
Yeah.
up. And then while adding water in, because you want it to be bigger, but like
Yeah.
you're trying to like, okay, we're doing good, we're doing good. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
just
I think that's one of the
wild.
biggest things with Amazon is to figure out what you're good at, what
Yeah,
you're, there's guys that just love that hunt.
they
They
do.
They
do.
love
Yep.
it. They like it. They like to, start using code and scraping websites and doing this and doing that, and then training VAs in order to source for them and constantly the turn, and great for them.
Yeah,
But I quickly knew, I was like, not for me.
yeah,
And I think that's one of the biggest things is to figure out what you're good at and lean in.
yeah. I agree. Like me, like I think me and Kaj have talked about. There's one guy on X. His name is Joey Wheeler. I don't know if he's still out there. I'm pretty sure he is. But like
Yeah, he
he
was
would
tweeting
like
the other day.
post. He was posting like like posts his like RA tracks of like 6 hours, and
Oh,
he hits like 10 stores and spends like 10K. And I was like, there's just and standing in the lines. I was like, dude, there's just no way I would want to ever do that. That is just not my cup of tea. It's like you go have so much fun doing that. I'm happy for you, but I can't do that. That's just not who I am. So
Some people just love
that
they love it,
some people
man.
just love the grind.
Like
Yeah.
Tracy,
okay.
you know,
Yeah.
7-figure Grammy. She still does RA trips. And I'm like,
Yeah.
why? She's like, because I love it. I was like, all right, more power to
All
you.
That's
right.
crazy. Yeah,
Yeah.
more power to you.
Yep. I didn't like that it also, and for younger guys doing this, for those young entrepreneurs, it's not a big deal, but there's no value in your business.
Right.
For me, that was an issue. For a 21-year-old kid doing it, nothing to worry about. Because if he's that bullish and that entrepreneurial, like, he will find something at some point that will, bring more value. So I don't think that's really a big deal. But for me, just long term, it just
Yeah.
wasn't something I wanted to go further with.
Yeah, and so you said you mentioned before that you kind of did always have your eyes set a little bit towards wholesale or brand direct. And now from my understanding, you are pretty much going all in on brand direct partnerships. So what about that was appealing to you, and how did that transition go about?
So I like sales. That's what I like, creating a relationship, getting off of a computer, picking up the phone, getting on a Zoom call, going to a distributor, going to a brand, shaking hands. That's more of where my strong point is. And I really liked not just the brand direct, the exclusive part, obviously, no price tanking, the only one on the listing, you can count on the money, you're growing a brand, all that is great. But I really enjoyed that part of it, and the sales part of working with a brand. And I didn't have, when I got into it, I just started sourcing. I started making, I'm still doing it, 100 phone calls a week, at least, the first 6 weeks. And just, I think by a little bit of luck, or it's just what worked for me, I was not having luck with distributors. I was talking to distributors and I was getting these massive price lists, and where my still Achilles heels is trying to source those price lists and break them out into Excel sheets. Not good at. Um, but I started having luck with brands, talking to brands, small to medium size, putting some orders in. Um, and then what was the real game changer was I hired an all-star VA, a full-time VA, right-hand person. I used a hiring agency. It was the best investment I've made since I've been doing Amazon. Because I haven't been doing it long enough where I know the back end of Amazon. I don't know how to optimize listings. I don't know how to create A+ content, all that stuff. I wanted to focus just on sales, and be able to hand off to somebody, and somebody I really couldn't train because I don't know it well enough to train. And I bit the bullet. I paid, some money for it. I interviewed about 10 different people. And this one woman I interviewed, it was just one of those 10 minutes into it. I was like, you're hired. And she really trained me. Um, I had all these SOPs built out and built my Slack out and all this stuff. And within like the second day of having her, I realized I was like, yeah, so all that training stuff I gave you, why don't you just throw that away? You know what you're doing. But she really taught me about getting into people's registries.
Mhm.
Not so much the sales end, but she was showing me the technical end of what we can do with a brand. She was showing me how, hey, when I talk to a brand or a distributor, give it to her. She will do a market analysis, come back with me with a presentation of why it's good or bad to buy. And she just took so much stress off of my plate. Um, she was a brand manager for an agency for a long
Oh,
time.
wow.
Yeah, she worked at Amazon. She brought me on day one an exclusive.
Wow. That's crazy.
That I know is not normal, but I'm actually in the process of launching it right now.
Wow.
Somebody that she worked with over COVID time,
Mm.
supply chain issues, couldn't do it anymore. So not on Amazon, Canadian brand. So now we're relaunching it on Amazon. And yeah, and that
Wow.
really, yeah, she just kind of gave me an aha moment of this is to have that right hand person, because from owning my own business, I knew, owning my taxi business, I had the same mechanic for 20 years,
Hmm.
and I hired him when I first started. We're the same age, and I just knew no matter what, at 4 o'clock every single day, I knew everything was all set,
Hmm.
and I didn't have to worry. And I also know the other end of that, of having employees
Hmm.
and they're a headache, and all you do is just waste time. And I was like, I don't want to go through and just keep on retraining VAs over and over again. So I was like, I want to find my right hand, that I can build off of. And I got lucky and I found her. And she's been with me for about 3 months now. She works on my hours. We do 3 video calls a day probably. And she is just given me the freedom. And I've really found my kind of sales pitch. I think probably the biggest aha moment was that I was talking to a brand, and I was selling some of their stuff, and I had an order in, it was selling. So I kind of went back, and he was one of the first people I really started to say, like, hey, your listings are okay, but you have no A+ content. Some of your pages could be optimized. And I sent him like this well thought out email. 20 minutes later, he got an email back and he said, yeah, so we're looking to expand, and we're not really looking to pay for outside services right now. And I was like, oh, this guy thinks I'm charging him. And I emailed him back saying, oh, optimizing your pages and stuff, this isn't something I charge you for. This is just because I'm buying your product. 5 minutes later, I got an email back, and he had looped his partner in, which I didn't know he had a partner. And he said, we need to get on a call tomorrow morning. We have another brand with 4 more proprietary products, and we would like you to launch it for us.
Wow.
And right then I was like, oh, there's my sales. And then like the salesman in me, I was like, and there's my sales pitch. Another brand I'm launching. So that's what really, and at that moment I stopped OA the next day. Um, I just stopped it all. I said, forget about it. Don't care. I stopped and just went full in. And that's when I changed my website. I went on my LinkedIn and I just said, you know what? I want to do brand direct. And I kind of said to myself, John, stop being a wimp and start tiptoeing around Amazon where you don't say it right away, but you kind of bring it in later. No, lean in and be bullish. Redo your website as more of an agency. Go in, redo your LinkedIn, lean into it all. have it done professionally. And that's when I started doing that. And I picked up another exclusive on the third brand that I'm launching, on who contacted me through LinkedIn.
Wow.
And all of this has kind of happened, but I always like to preface this by, I am still new. I am not 200K a month. I'm not 100K a month. I have not paid myself yet. I'm around 50 to 60K a month right now, but all wholesale. My sales dipped as all my OA started to sell through. And a lot
For
of these
sure.
brands, and you guys know,
Yep.
it takes time. I had to build
Mhm.
listings.
Yeah.
2 of the brands were rebranding and redoing their packaging. So we kind of had to wait for their inventory to come in. And I actually am putting in the initial orders right now on these 3 brands. So yeah, it kind of skyrocketed. And now we're just going to wait for the money to come in. So I'm one of the few that Q4 doesn't mean much to me this year.
Right.
Sure.
I think my first
Yeah,
Q4 will
especially
really
for
be next.
Yeah, especially transitioning from, at least in our experience, and I mean, it's going to be category and catalog dependent, but for us, when we were all the way, the Q4 bump was just nuts. And then like the
Yeah.
last couple of years, it hasn't been as big, but again, that's more so probably because of the kinds of products we're selling more than being wholesale, but it could be both.
Sure.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Exactly. So how are you looking with I feel like there's a lot of work coming your way. How are you kind of handling that? And then are you looking for, in terms of are you thinking about another hire? Are you going to try to keep the team as small as you can? What are you looking for kind of like there?
I am probably someone that would rather run a little lean. Um, I want to do the revenue driving. I like sourcing for wholesale. It's a different kind of sourcing, but I
Yeah.
like doing it, especially now that I've gotten good at it. I kind of want to see the websites. I want to see the stuff myself, um, and making the outreach calls. I think that is something it will always be me, um, at least for the foreseeable future. As far as building out, luckily what my VA was able to do is she has a network of VAs. So when we're starting to build out this A plus content, she said to me, she was like, I can do a lot. She was like, but when it comes to she said, I can put together A plus content and create it. But I hired a freelance graphic designer who isn't really on my payroll, but I pay him, per job. And my VA is good at advertising, but when it comes to brand wide advertising, when we're actually launching a brand, my VA was, and one of the reasons why I like her so much is she's not, a lot of the VAs tend to be overly polite. And my VA isn't afraid to kind of push back on me a little bit or say, hey, this is what I'm good at. If we can run your PPC campaigns and your general stuff, she's like, but in a brand wide sponsorship, we should really bring on a PPC, a specialist that
Mm.
just does that. She said, I have somebody that I've worked with many times. Her and I work real well together. So we bring her on for launching products and stuff like that. And it's all stuff the advertiser is really probably the one area where I'm trying to learn a lot more.
And
That
there is so much to learn there.
Yeah,
there's
there
so
is.
much to learn, and that's
Yeah.
the one area where I don't really know much yet, but I need to get a better understanding. I don't ever need to know how to submit a flat file and optimize. I don't need to know that, but I do need to understand more about advertising, marketing, and I like that stuff.
Sure. Now, these brands that you're launching, because this is an interesting topic. So I know one of them, or 2 of them, it sounded like came through mutual connections, or you were already talking to the brand and then they recommend other products. Are these brands offering to give you an advertising budget, or are you just spending ad dollars out of the margin that you have from selling their stuff?
So that's something where I am looking into more. Right now, it's on me. Luckily, the stuff that I'm selling is plenty of room.
Oh, nice.
I'm actually one of them. He let me, raise the price. Um, on it, but I was able to really, with both of these right now, I'm at a 17 to 20% margin after advertising.
Oh,
So
wow.
I'm good. Um, one of them, one of them is like a grocery, like a kind of a boutique grocery, I would say. Um, they're already in Whole Foods in Canada.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And the other one is a tool, but a industry specific tool. This is probably the most tricky one. It's very proprietary.
Hmm.
So it's a little bit of, I think it's going to be a little bit of a challenge, getting it to, keywords and stuff like that. And that's all the stuff I'm kind of, trying to learn. But that one I didn't realize. I like did some more homework on it. And this brand has 80,000 Instagram followers.
Oh, wow. That's
So,
crazy.
yeah.
Wow.
So I was like, okay, there's a need there. And then the third brand, the one that found me on LinkedIn, is that one I'm actually not launching. It's on Amazon. It's just kind of dead. It's in a category where everyone is sponsored.
Hmm.
Super high ceiling, a lot of products, 10K a month, but high sponsored. Typical use an agency in one time, but it was only the brand owner, the brand selling it. Use an ad agency. They took a whole bunch of money and did horrible A+ content for her, and it
Classic.
didn't really work. And that was really the first one that she came and sold herself to me. That
Wow.
was really the first like flip. Like I didn't expect LinkedIn to jump off like that. I always use LinkedIn to source as like kind of a secret sauce and finding emails and brands that way. But I didn't realize how powerful it is because I still have on my LinkedIn like next to no followers. And this person just like messaged me.
Wow.
It
That's
took about
awesome.
5 minutes to kind of talking back and forth, trying to figure out if we're both real.
Yeah. It's like, are you AI? Are
Yeah,
you AI?
Yeah,
exactly.
that's the beauty of social media, man. And why it's
Yeah,
like just
which
put
is
yourself
so,
out
and
there.
I have to hand that to Miles.
100%.
I have to hand because I didn't when he first told me I didn't do it for the first 30 days because I was just so stressed and trying to figure out how to use a computer and how to turn something to a PDF or get ungated. And like I'm like, yeah, Miles. I get it. But one of the big things is like I was like, man, I had a little bit of an ego. I was like, I am listening to this 25-year-old kid. And then I quickly said to myself, I was like, John, shut up. 'Cause
I love
this
that.
he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
And
does.
also I was like, you're coming from an industry that did not move forward and it's gone.
Mm.
So not necessarily my fault, but just
Right.
in general, you didn't stick up with it. And my industry went away because of it. So I was like, okay, we're gonna do, and I carved myself out a little hole in X and on Instagram. And then like I was sitting on Miles Zoom meetings and I slid the thing over. I'm like, oh, it's a bunch of 40-year-olds listening to this guy. There's 30 of us in there. And that's when I linked up with two of my friends, Blake and Pete. And we're like, we used to get on Zoom calls with each other and like help each other like figure out how to fix a thermal printer. That's how I met Blake on that, one of my co-hosts, and we're like, why don't we do a podcast for a bunch of over the hill guys trying to like reinvent themselves?
I love that.
And that's how we started that. And then everything just kind of like took off. And I started helping people that were, 3 months in of just I kind of looked at it as like pay it forward. Um, I jump on at least 3 calls a week with guys in their first 4 months. I think Miles kind of steers them towards me. And I really like it. And but a lot of guys like, you guys and stuff like that that are way ahead of me, and I can't bring you guys any real value or give you guys, but guys like you help me out and are talking to me like at Sellers United. It was like I'm talking to these guys that are doing 500K a month and they're giving me ideas and stuff like that when they don't have to. So that's why I kind of feel like, anybody that comes to me, I'll always willing to take 20 minutes out of my day and talk to them.
Yeah. And that's huge because I mean, just talking about that just gets me jazzed, just like all the community around this Amazon space. I think for me and Kaj, we had a huge hype cycle coming out of COVID where, man, there was just everybody and anyone was on X talking about Amazon FBA, OA, wholesale. And then, over the past couple of years, we've kind of seen everyone kind of like not go away completely, but aren't as many posts and things aren't going as viral. But I kind of love to hear your experience, still in the weeds and still building community is awesome. Because, man, that gets you through the hard times. Me and Kaja talk
Hmm.
about all the time
Oh
how
yeah.
I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Kaja. Kaja wouldn't be here if it wasn't for
Mhm.
me and everybody else in the community. So, man, that kind of still jazzes me up that, there's still a really good, strong community out there that are still helping people. Because that just gets me excited because I remember when me and Kaja were doing numbers and, we were talking to, like Corey Ganem, who
Yep.
I know just recently retired from the Amazon space,
Hmm.
but man, he was doing big numbers and getting to know him through that has been a wonderful experience and has, bettered us. So it always feels good to kind of push others forward as well when they're
Yeah.
struggling or
You
need
just,
help.
Well said.
you never know what is going to come back around.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Like I had met Jonah at
Yep.
Sellers United, and I think
Okay.
Yeah,
Jonah
yeah.
had
Yeah.
done one of Miles' calls too. And like I was talking to him, and I saw like I was like on his Instagram, I can tell like he was an ex-athlete, um, and my best friend is very high up in the XFL, or I think it's called the
Oh,
UFL now.
okay.
And he called me, he's like, "Hey, this winter, I want you to come talk to the XFL about reinventing yourself." And I was like, "Man, Dave, that's thank you." I was like, "But I got a guy who should talk to your guys." I was like, "He's like early 30s. He's crushing it on Amazon, and he played in the league." you know, I
Yeah.
was like, "I did not play in the league. I coached high school for a long time, and I coached some in college." But I was like, what about a guy that like is an entrepreneur and played in the NFL, I think for a season or two and played, Power 5 Division 1 football. He's like, oh my God, he would be like perfect. So like I messaged Jonah and I was like, I don't know if these two will ever hook up and it'll work out, but I was
Right.
like, hey, would you want to speak to the XFL? He was like, yeah. I was like,
So
all right,
cool.
well, I don't know what comes out. I don't know if it pays. I'm sure they'll fly you out there or whatever. And, just like small stuff like that. Like you never thought I would come into that. But when my best friend brought it up to me, like the first person I thought of was a random guy on the internet that I met a week before.
Yep.
And
Crazy.
I can't help you with that, Dave. But I was like, I got a guy.
Got a guy for
And
that.
sometimes you never know who the random people are on the internet that are gonna actually change your life. It's kind of wild.
Yeah.
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 And it's
All right.
just like
Next
networking is so
question.
powerful.
So
Yep.
powerful. So you're still new, right? But you've seen a lot of success early, which is awesome. What's your goal with Brand Direct? Like, do you have a numbers goal in terms of revenue or monthly profit, or in terms of the amount of brands you want to work with? Yeah, just like what's your goal and where you're taking it?
Yeah. So I think, and this probably comes into my age a little bit. Um, I'm in, I tell people, I was like, I'm in a different situation than a lot of people. Uh, I was very lucky, and even with the taxi business dying, it died over 10 years. And I heavily got into commercial real estate, and I bought 3 different properties, which is true passive income now. Um, and that really, number one, it set me up where I can take income and not work for a year,
Mm,
and invest money into this. Number two, it's really my retirement. And I did very well in my 20s, in my 30s. And really, I have 2 kids. They're really set up for college. And I did, my father made me do some smart things and get into real estate and do those sort of things. So it's, I tell people, I'm like, I'm in the odd situation of later in life, I'm kind of okay. What I'm not okay with is now and like making money for like today. Um, So I see myself as really getting this to the point of where I can keep on not touching the real estate money, invest more in real estate. I don't see myself becoming, I have no interest in owning a warehouse. That sounds, I also live in a
Amen.
I live in a very bad area for that.
Okay.
I live in, it's just not an area that would make sense for it. But I have zero interest in having that. And I see myself of having 2 full-time VAs, really, and then outsourcing other things, getting my brand direct. I think similar to Corey Gainham. I thought
Okay.
he was in
Yeah.
kind of a sweet spot. I want to scale to probably 300K, 200 to 300K a month, mostly all brand direct, and get to the point where I stop scaling.
Hmm.
I think that's where I want to be. The ideas of having my own massive warehouse and all that, and doing
We're
20K
right
a
there
month.
with you.
Yeah. I was gonna say,
No, no
we are
warehouse
very
desire.
The thought of having a warehouse is a nightmare to me.
terrible.
We almost bought
just-
one and we didn't, and that was
Yeah.
one of the greatest business decisions we've ever made.
Yeah.
Yeah, because people have asked me, they're like, because I have a warehouse, I own a warehouse. People are like, well, you could just open that. I was like, are you kidding me? I was like, I have people leasing that out for 8 years and they give me a
Oh,
check every
even
single month.
way
I was
better.
like,
Way better.
Yeah.
no, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So,
So you
yeah,
said
I
you're looking
don't
at like that 200K, 300K monthly
300K.
revenue, that 12 to 15% margin, and then just keep using that cash flow to support your
Yeah.
lifestyle as well as reinvest into commercial real estate.
yeah, because
It's a
I'm finding
sweet
the
spot
brand
there.
direct is
Yeah.
It is.
the margins can be really good.
Yeah,
Mhm,
they
mhm.
can be, and they can get better over time, which is
Yeah. Also
even
that.
a cooler thing. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's kind of where me and Kaj are looking to get to as well. So
Yeah,
I like
I
how
like
we're
that. I like that spot.
pretty
I don't
similar.
like the idea of 7 VAs.
Yeah.
I like the idea of 2 really good ones. Like, I kind of think of like my main VA at some
Mhm.
point, her giving her the power to hire an assistant for
Mhm.
her to delegate. And then, have like a graphic designer. I always have, maybe go to an agency at some point with PPC or something like that, and really keep it like that. I want to be small enough where I can talk to every brand
Yeah.
on the phone and have a personal relationship with each brand. Um, and be on a first name basis with them. That's what I really like about the business. And
Yeah, for
I
sure.
like that transition of, it starts off with as sales, us selling ourselves, trying to get them to sell to you. And you do well when it's not sales anymore, you're working together.
Mm.
Because that
Yeah.
brand sees, because when it comes down to it, I'm giving them money.
Oh yeah.
Right. And that brand is really working with you to see how you two can grow their brand. And that's the relationship I like.
Yeah.
100%. All right,
That's what
last question I have. I don't know if Josh, you have another one, but what's
good.
one tip for someone who is doing OA and looking to transition into brand direct, since you've recently done that? What's one tip you'd give that person?
The earlier you do it, the easier. I was at 25K. Sure, last month, this month, seeing those numbers go down hurts a little bit. But if I scaled through Q4, say, and I got, I don't know, I got up to 60K, 70K, something like that, that's a whole lot harder to stop than when you're just at 20. And that would be my biggest thing for somebody, would just if you're going to do it, what are you waiting for?
Yeah,
Well
honestly,
said.
I think that's really good. Just because the OA and the brand direct, I would say, are like so different. Like if you're gonna spend like additional time on OA, building out your systems, finding new like products, like if products are still good, you're really gonna want to like go back, and you're gonna really want to revert back to kind of pick up the revenue. It sucks to see revenue fall, but at the end of the day, it's a different business model. So I really like that because they are completely different, and the faster you start on brand direct, the more time you can get calling, researching, and kind of reaching out as best you can to all these brands that are out there, just really waiting to be reached out to. And
Yeah.
you never know when the timing is just going to be right.
Yeah, I think that's what I said. It's a little bit, I say, I had a little bit of beginner's luck with some of them, but I made so many phone calls. I grabbed people at the right time.
Yeah.
And that's where I really started to use, I said in the beginning, shut up and listen to Miles. Just shut up and do it. And then after 6 months, then you start to use your own relationships that you've made in business, your own, I've done business. Like, then you start to bring in, other things to like, oh, I can do it this way, or I like this. You can come up with your own methods and you'll find your own groove. Um, and that's really what I've done with wholesale. I'm not against using distributors. I still use a couple, but for the most part, I just like the brand direct. I don't like ungating. I don't like any of that stuff. It's all just a nightmare to me. I'm like, once I found out, I'm like, oh, wait a second. They just put you into a registry. And I didn't even know what that was when I started. I'm like, oh yeah, no, we want to be in registry. So now when I talk to a brand, it's like, no, you're going to need to put me in your registry. And I can't make them, but like, it's like the first thing I do.
Yeah. The getting of the brand registry, that is first step.
Yeah, I think I'm up to 5, 6, 7 now that I'm in, even ones that
yeah.
I'm not in. And like, then you get lucky. Like, I still, right now, everything is dipped, but I have one ASIN brand direct that is doing 35,000 a month.
Wow. That is sick. And
One
that's
ASIN,
what,
one
I
ASIN can
love
change
that.
your life.
One
And
ASIN can change your life. Yeah.
$265.
Wow.
And I don't know how I found it. Oh, I know how I found it, and I don't. But with brand direct, and this isn't exclusive, and this is why I love the exclusive part. Someday I might be able to brand, but I just haven't had any traction with getting exclusivity with this brand. I'm not even in their registry. So I'm like, this is cool. I keep on ordering it. It just sells through over and over and over again. But I'm like, this is only going to take one phone call for them to be like, I'm all set. And it's done. It's over. Right. And right now it would be like, ooh, that would really hurt. But as business grows, I have all my brand direct, that exclusivity would, and then I can have the other stuff that I play with. So yeah, it only takes, out of 700 phone calls that I've made, that one phone call. And that was one of those, like, one phone call. Yeah, you can buy from us. And I tried it, and I was just like, I bought 10 units. I was like, oh, let's try it. I put it through one day. By 1 p.m., all 10 sold. And I was like, oh, okay. Let's buy some more.
I love that. That's so
So
awesome.
yeah, I've had put in hard work, it'll pay off.
I love that. John, where can people go find you on the internet if they want to just indulge in your content or listen to your new podcast?
Yeah, so our podcast is Buy Box Mavs, and then, but you can reach everything on my social media, Instagram or X is both Buy Box Maverick. And there's links to our podcast and stuff like that. And yeah, our podcast, we kind of say it's 3 over the hill guys reinventing themselves, which is cool. I'm the only one that does wholesale. And then Blake and Pete, they do a little bit of OA and RA, but they're still like very part-time. So it's kind of the 3 of us, and we just, some days we have guests, some days we just turn on the mic and talk about it and what it's like to be over 40 and do this whole thing with a bunch of guys, in their 20s, absolutely crushing it, which is really cool. It's really like small business now.
Yeah. Well, you gotta get out to Amazon Accelerate, because the one thing I realized is like the OA corner of X on Amazon is where all of the 20-year-olds are, but the majority of people selling on Amazon are actually not that archetype.
I know. They're just not all over social. I know that when
Exactly,
I was like, I don't think we're actually the only ones.
You're not.
I think with just, the OA, it's a young man's hustle.
It is.
For sure.
It's a young man's hustle.
All right, everybody, you guys know all the links will be in the description, so check it out. Guys, remember, on 11/11. This probably will come out afterwards. We are doing office hours. So check out the free Discord in the description as well. Guys, thank you for listening. If you guys have any questions, make sure to leave comments in the comment section. We want to answer questions that you guys have. If you're on YouTube, like and subscribe. And if you're on Spotify, follow the podcast so you can stay updated on all of our new content. And we will see you on the next one.